morning, everyone. I am Jonathan Little, and we're here with a little coffee. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Before we get started, if you all missed out on it, I ran a webinar for all of you. We were discussing how to play against Maniacs the other day, so I decided to give an in-depth hand example of exactly what to do against Maniacs. If you missed that, you can find it on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/floattheturn. It's my most recent video. It's about an hour long where I discuss how to beat Maniacs using a very clear hand example where they check raise you on the flop, which happens a decent amount, right? It's annoying when that happens, but you need to know how to play against it, and I explain how to play your whole range. I actually got a lot of emails from people. I presented the situation to my email list, and I got about 50 emails back saying, you didn't say what your hand was. But that's because your hand doesn't matter, right? What matters is your range. And I explain how to play a range throughout that video. And then we have a question and answer session at the end where I answer all of the questions that the 400 or so people who were there sent in. So I'm glad we had that many people live. That's a good number. Apparently more people are around later in the day than they are early in the morning for a little coffee. But you know, the early bird does get the worm. Louis Philippe said the webinar was awesome. Good, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So yeah, go to youtube.com/floattheturn. You can subscribe there. You'll be notified whenever I post a new video, which happens every few days. So if you like a little coffee, you'll probably like that too. All right, today. Oh, also, we have a New Year sale going on. I know it's not exactly the New Year, but it's kind of a New Year. We are giving a pretty big discount on year-long or up to 3-year-long memberships at pokercoaching.com. You can go to pokercoaching.com/New Year and check it out. You get lots and lots and lots of free bonuses. Videos from myself, videos from other world-class pros. It's a great deal. If I was a young poker player, I would definitely sign up. You have a bankroll question, go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. What do you keep as an emergency fund? Depends on your life, right? If you have a family and kids and all that business, then you probably need way more money saved up than if it's just you by yourself. You have the potential to go back and get a job immediately, right? If you have the potential to go back and get a job immediately, then you don't need much money at all set aside. And you simply take expenses out of your bankroll. Ideally, you keep your expenses super minimal. PokerCoaching.com is the best. Still waiting on that promo check. Thank you, Kevin Smith. Sorry. I don't know if it's coming. All right, today we have an interesting topic. We're going to talk about seat selection and so much more, because you can't really talk about seat selection without talking about game selection, without talking about table selection, without talking about buy-in size, without talking about cash games versus tournaments, etc., etc. So we're going to talk about cash games first, then we're going to go into tournaments. So whenever you go to a casino or to a poker site, if there's only one table available of your buy-in level, then that's probably what you need to play. That said, you should become comfortable playing slightly bigger or slightly smaller. Like say you're normally a 2-5 player, but you go to the casino, there's no seats at 2-5, or the 2-5 game is really bad. And what does it mean to be really bad? It means the game is just full of really, really good players. If that's the case, you need to look at 1-2 and 2-5. If 5-10 is super soft that day for whatever reason, maybe there's 3 or 4 bad players just there goofing off, then you should probably play 5-10 that day. If 1-2 looks super soft, maybe you should play 1-2 instead of that tough 2-5 game. I mean, I know when I used to go to Bellagio, I would play 10-20, ideally, but I would also play 5-10 if the 10-20 game was no good. And if there was a higher game, I would very often play it if it looked good. I mean, a lot of the value from going to Bellagio every day to play 10-20 is that you get to sit there and see if any big games start and get on the list for all the big games. I was always on the list for 25, 50, 100, 200, 200, 400. And every once in a while, a game would start. One of my more memorable experiences, I was playing there, just 10-20, $2,000 in front of me. The game was not particularly good. And then 2 recreational players came in, and they wanted to play 200, 400. And so me, Andrew Roble, and a guy named Pat, I think his name's Pat, we played 200, 400 for about 2 hours. I won $80,000, and then the game broke. That was good. And you have the opportunity to do that if you just sit there and you play. 7 privilege. No, go to pokercoaching.com/innercircle to see what we offer there, or send us an email, support@pokercoaching.com. Okay. Let's see. So, in cash games, be willing to play bigger or smaller, especially if you have a big enough bankroll, right? If, like, say 2-5 is already pushing it, say you only have 20 buy-ins or something, you don't need to go play 5-10. But if you have 40 or 50 buy-ins at 2-5, it's probably fine to take a shot if the game that is higher is soft. But usually you only have your option to one seat or one table, and that table will be a must-move table, so you don't even get to pick your table, really. So let's say we go to the casino, we want to play 2-5, we're playing 2-5, there's one seat available. Okay, we take it. Next, you want to ask, how much should you buy in for? Right? In that scenario, you want to look around and see who the good players or the bad players are, perceivably. You want to perceive who the good players or bad players are. So if the good players are on your left, that's not good for you. You want the good players on your right or across the table from you. If they're on your left, you're going to lose money to them, right? And if they're good, you're going to lose a lot of money to them. In poker, money flows to the left. Just how it works. So, the players on your left are good. You're going to lose money to them. The players on your right are also good. Well, you're going to win money from them, but not a whole lot because they're good. So what you want is you want the good players across the table from you. If they're even at the table. Ideally, you want no good players at the table. And you want the bad players on your right. Also, since chips flow to the left, if the players on your right have a short stack, but the players on your left have a deep stack, and they're decently good, you want to buy in to cover the bad players on your right. Because, again, you're only going to be able to win that much, so you want to make sure you can win all of the bad players' money. But whenever you're losing, you want to make sure you're not losing huge pots to the players on your left. I mean, so many times at 10-20, I'd see arrogant players or egotistical players sit down with tons and tons and tons of money, like 500 big blinds or 1,000 big blinds, when the recreational player on the right has like 50 big blinds, and then there are 3 good players on the direct left, all with infinite as well. And that's just so dumb. Very often that player ends up playing big pots from out of position, and if you play a lot of big pots out of position, you're going to get crushed. So the difference in variance between cash games and tournaments. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. You'll see. So, a lot of people think you're supposed to buy in for the maximum, or even the table maximum. Maybe the table maximum is only 100 big blinds, but that is not a good idea if the players on your left are good and they're deep, and the players on your right are short, shallow. Let's just presume you think everyone's equally skilled, right? If the players on your left are deep stacked and the players on your right are shallow, you still want to buy in shallow to cover the players on your right, because you're going to be winning money from that player and you're going to be losing money to the people on your left. Very, very important. All right. So we'll get to that eventually. Okay, next. When it comes to picking your table, say you do get to pick a table, like say there are 2-5 tables, you need to find the table that is fun, happy, having a good time, everyone's throwing a party. You don't want to play at the super nitty table. That's not what you're looking for. You want to play at the table where everyone is having a great time. All right. You generally want tight players on your left, loose players, aggressive players on your right. So why do you want that? Well, whenever you have tight players on your left, if you raise, they're usually just going to fold, right? So if you raise cutoff and the button folds a lot, it's kind of like whenever you raise the cutoff, you're almost always on the button, which is pretty nice. Say you have 2 tight players on your left and you raise from the hijack seat. If they both fold, it's like you're on the button, right? So you're going to get to play the button, essentially, way more often. And if you do raise and then they re-raise you, it's fine. You just fold, right? Because you're out of position against a tight range. Compare that to when you're in the hijack seat against 2 loose players on your left. If you open, they're both going to call or re-raise a lot. And if they call or re-raise a lot, what's going to happen is you're now out of position against maybe not even someone who's very good, but if you take someone who's not very good and you give them position every hand against you, it's not going to work out so well. So, you want tight players on your left, loose players on your right. You think it's good to play at a table that's just starting up? Absolutely, presuming the game is soft. I didn't really plan on discussing this today, but very often you have a really big win rate if you are skilled at playing shorthanded. And if you're skilled at playing shorthanded, and the people who want to start the game are often the more gambly players, that's going to work out really, really well for you. I've made so much money playing shorthanded. I mean, the 200-400 game I talked about, it was 5-handed, right? We played 5-handed for 2 or 3 hours, and that was it. You do not need to be afraid to start tables. A lot of people are deathly afraid of playing shorthanded because they want to sit there and just only play the nuts. We're not nut peddlers here. Again, we're trying to make you big winners. We're not trying to make you tiny winners. And nut peddling will make you a tiny winner in tiny games. You have to get in there, you have to fight, and you have to learn how to play well. And you need to get experience playing shorthanded because a lot of the very high stakes games are all shorthanded. And yeah, you want to start the game. Often you'll get a discount on the rake as well if you start a game, so that's pretty nice too. Quite often you just don't pay rake for the first 30 minutes or you get lots of rake back or something like that. So that's beneficial too. Okay, so now that we know which seat we want shallow stacks on our left, deep stacks on our right, and we want loose players on our right and tight players on our left. Now that we know that, whenever a seat opens up, ideally, you want to take it if it is better for you. Now, we know the criteria already. So given that, how do you make sure you're the person who gets the seat? Well, first things first, you need to make sure you get the table change button and the seat change button, if that's a thing at your casino, whenever you show up to your seats, right? Sometimes the person who has been at the table the longest will have the first option to change seats, and sometimes it will be whoever requests some button, right? Figure out the rules for your casino and do that. Very, very important. Next, say you're in a particularly bad seat and a much better seat opens up, you need to take it, right? If you're at a pretty good seat and a slightly better seat opens up, you probably don't want to take it. You do not want to become known as a player who is actively jockeying for the best seat because that's going to really tip off the recreational players the idea that you're trying to crush them. And also, it's going to make it very clear to the other good players that you're actually good, which maybe they don't actually perceive you as good. So, I would suggest you definitely try to get the seat if it's significantly better, but if it's not significantly better, probably just don't take it. So, what are some good ways to make it look like you are changing seats not to get position on the fish, but for other reasons? You could say something like, well, the most obvious excuses, especially if you don't play at the same place on a regular basis, is, I want to see that TV over there. Most casinos have TVs, right? And if you say there's a Red Sox game on this tape on the TV behind you, and you know you want to take that seat, so yeah, I'm going to take that seat. I want to watch the Red Sox game. And you can even, like, before you know you're going to take the seat, you see the guy packing up, you can even do like this. Look back there at the game. Act like you're watching the game. Act a little bit annoyed that you don't have a good seat. And then when it opens up, you're like, oh, sweet, how convenient. Then you go over there and you take the seat. Alternatively, say the Red Sox game is on right in front of you. And the seat opens up that's not looking at the Red Sox game. Well, what should you say? Obviously, you should say, man, I hate the Red Sox. I can't stand watching them. I'm going to sit over there because I don't want to watch the Red Sox. It just makes me go crazy. There you go. Two very easy options. You could also just say things like, if you're on the rail, say, I don't like hearing these people talk so much. You can say, I don't like the smoking around me. You can find an excuse, right? If you need an excuse. I would generally suggest you use an excuse if you are trying to keep the game as casual as you possibly can. Zub has another good one. Say you're at the ends of the table, like the 8 seat or the 2 seat, whatever, and you want to sit closer to the middle of the table. Say, I can't see the cards very well. Another easy excuse, right? Just be reasonable about it. There are many things that you can do. What kind of seat are we looking for? I just explained this. You want a seat with deep stacks on your right and loose players on your right. And you want shallow stacks on your left and tight players on your left. That is what you're looking for. How many tournaments I'm going to play this year? I don't know. The year is young, but so are my babies. Table selection question. Would you rather play 1-2 with a bunch of old nits with a $50 rake back for 6 hours of play, or 4 tabling 1-2 or 50-cent dollar online? Probably 1-2 live. 50-cent dollar is actually quite tough online. I mean, I would say you're probably better off playing like 10 cent, 25 cent, or 25 cent, 50 cent. That said, it's really a question of hourly rate, right? And this does come up a lot for players. Would you rather play one casino or the other, or online versus live, etc., etc.? If you play 1-2 against a bunch of old nits, you're probably going to win $20 an hour, give or take. Plus, you get $50 back, so 20 times 6 is $120. You get $170 in 6 hours. $30 an hour, right? It's pretty good. online, let's say you win, I don't know, 5 big blinds per 100 hands. If you're really good, you're probably not going to win that much. Let's say you win 3 big blinds per 100 hands. You'll play let's say 200 hands an hour. So 3 big blinds times 2 is $6 per hour. So would you rather get $30 an hour or $6 an hour? That's the question. Maybe you're a bigger winner online. Let's say make 5 big blinds per 100. Now you'll make, well, $10 per hour. Still not that great, right? You're making 20 big blinds per 100 online, but that's not sustainable. That is accurate. Unless your game's super soft, maybe it is. Only 6,500 hands. Yeah, that's not a lot. Play a lot more hands. What happens if all of the fish call you out? And they say something like, oh boy, there's Jonathan Little. Here he is again. It's fine. It is what it is. You can't do anything about that. You can't do anything about people calling you out. Sometimes you may run into another good player who thinks they're supposed to get that seat, and they will fight you hard for it. You need to speak up kind of quickly if you do want to get a seat. If you don't use your option to get the seat kind of quickly, often you will lose it. So say the seat does come up. This is why I kind of said, like, you want to suggest ahead of time. You see the guy packing up, turn around and try to watch the game. Or just, like, sit there and watch Boston. Maybe just say to the guy to your left, man, I hate Boston. Or something like that, right? I have nothing against Boston. That's just the first team that came to mind because they win all the Super Bowls. So that's generally how I would try to do that type of thing. And then you'll get the good seats. So now you have the best seat in the casino, ideally, or at least at your stake. And it's very important to realize that table selection is not enough. Seat selection is very important. And like the best seat at a 2-5 game may be worth $100 an hour, whereas the worst seat in that same game may be worth no dollars an hour. Maybe you'll be a losing player. I mean, just imagine you have 2 sides of the table, right? You have one good player on one side, one good player on the other side, but the instead of having the loose players on his left, loose players on his right, he has the tight players on his right, and the good players on his good players on his left. It's not going to work out well at all. Is it okay to play a loose range under the gun to create variance? No, it's not a good idea. You're going to light your money on fire. People ask me about random sites and their online games. I do not know. Why do I say 50 cent dollars harder online? Because online poker is way tougher than live poker for many reasons. You get to play many more hands per hour. You get to play multiple tables at a time. And what it results in is the bad players going broke way faster in terms of time. It takes them the same number of hands, but they go faster, go broke faster in terms of time. So you'll see that online poker is just significantly more difficult, significantly more advanced than live poker. All right. D. Nelson's is complaining about not making good hands against the bad players. Yeah, that happens. Sometimes you're going to lose, right? You can have the best seat in the house and still lose. Don't think you're supposed to win all the time. Would you use the first move button some rooms have? Yes, that's what I said. You need to get the table change button and the seat change button. And quite often somebody will have one first or whatever, and you'll be the second or third one in line, and that's fine. Next, let's talk about table selection, right? Whenever you do get your seat at your table, get the table change button. Make sure you change tables aggressively. So how do you know if the other table's better? Well, you pay attention. Whenever I used to play 5-10 at Bellagio, usually they'd have 4 or 5 or 6 tables. And I'd get the table change button, and I would change tables maybe 20% of the time I had the option. Often, what I would do is I would just tell the floor person, hey, can I get on the table change list? They'd always say, sure. And you give them some amount of money, $20. They always make sure you stay on that list all day. Whenever a table comes up, or a seat at a different table opens up, they will say, hey, Jonathan, you want that seat? And I will say yes or no. And that led to me not changing so often. Again, you don't want to be known as the player who is moving tables all the time, just like you don't want to be the guy changing seats all the time, but sometimes it makes sense. So you can look at the other table and see the chip stacks. Also, you can look at the players and see how they appear. You can listen to what they're saying. You can see what they're drinking. And you may just find the tables just drastically better than yours. And very often, if you go for a must-move game, you have to go play in whatever seat they put you in. And if your table is particularly bad, That's fine if you know a seat at a better table is going to open up at some point and you have the option to take that. Seat 1 or seat 9, love it or hate it, doesn't matter. I would definitely say it doesn't matter from a playing of the game point of view, but I typically don't like the 1 or the 9 seat. I definitely don't like the 1 seat because you miss the action of the 9 seat and the 8 seat and you can't really see them very well. So the fact that you miss the action and you can't see them very well is way worse than the 9 seat where you don't miss the action of the player in the 1 seat because they act after you. But yeah, I typically don't like the 9 or the 1 seat. And I try to not take them, but if it's the best seat, it's just the best seat and that's fine. If you're missing the action, then you're a fish, right? If you can't see what the person in the 1 seat does because you're not paying attention, you're just not good at poker. You have to understand, poker is a visual game. It is up to you to figure out a way to see what that person does. Do I tip the floor, people? Yes. All right, let's see what else. That's pretty much it for live poker, or for cash games. Let's talk about tournaments now. In tournaments, you may think, what do you mean? You don't get to pick your table or your seat, but you kind of do. First things first, you don't have to play a tournament. I have a good example of this. I was in LA for the LAPC. It's a $10,000 tournament. It usually has 1,000 people or something like that. It's very soft. But the day or two before that, they often run a $5,000 tournament. And this year in particular, it had like 40 players, no satellite qualifiers, and it was all the best players in the world. There were something like 3 weak players in the field. So, do I need to play that game? I flew in to play it, but it doesn't look very good. I think my hourly rate's going to be like $10 or $40 or $50 an hour. So obviously, I don't play. I go and play cash games. And the cash games, it turned out, were super soft, right? Because all the good players were playing this tournament. Good players. All the egotistical players were playing this tournament. And they were not collecting the free money downstairs at the cash game table. And understand that you do not have to play a tournament just because it exists. If you think about re-entry tournaments, right? You do not have to re-enter just because it is an option, even if you're properly bankrolled. I've not re-entered a few World Poker Tour tournaments, right? I want to win World Poker Tour titles and all that, but I'm not willing to just give up tons of equity. So if you buy in with like 8 big blinds, or 15 big blinds, which happens at Bellagio, I do not like that at Bellagio, but if you buy in with like 8 big blinds last second, well, what's your ROI? It's like 1%, 2%. And if you have a 2% ROI, but you're paying 5 or 6 or 7% rake, you're just paying a few $100s to have the opportunity to try to play. And that's not really good. Let's see, are you playing any tournaments on Stars currently? Right now I'm doing a little coffee. What do you think about the skill level in the small and medium stakes games? It's okay. It's fine. It's definitely beatable. You 4-bet bluff 6-3 suited last night as a squeeze, and both your opponents folded ace-king offsuit. That is lucky. I agree. Okay, so you don't have to play the game to start with. Let's say we do decide to play, and we're at a table, and the table is particularly bad. Fortunately for you, unlike online tournaments where they break the tables randomly, live, they tell you the breaking order, right? And if you know the breaking order, and you know your table's breaking soon or never, that should probably change your strategy. Also, you get a redraw at the end of each day. A good example of this happened to me at Borgata. I was playing the 3500 World Poker Tour event, and we were at the end of like day 3 or 4, and the tournament had something like 50 or 60 players left, and all of the players, 50 or 60 players were left, probably like 40 or 50 of them were just bad, okay? Turns out, all the good players were at my table. So 4 or 5 tables left, maybe 5 or 6 tables are left. My table had all the good players, the other tables were super soft. The tournament's going to redraw in about an hour and a half, because we're right at the end of the day, right? So what do? Do we sit there and do we gamble hard and try to fight the good players as if that's all that matters? No. What if I even think I have a bit of an edge on the good players? Do I still go in there and fight hard and try to win every pot? And the answer is no. You sit there and you be patient for about an hour and a half. That doesn't mean blind out. It means play tight-ish, aggressive-ish poker. Don't take all the steal spots. Don't play overly maniacal. Just sit there and be good, right? And then they're going to redraw. You're inevitably going to get a better table, and then you can play with the weak players. That's exactly what I did. I ended up, I think I took 20th or something when I lost a flip at the end, but which is fine. It doesn't matter. The results are relevant. But what is relevant is I got off of the bad table and got a good seat, right? And at that table, 2 or 3 of the other pros were fighting hard because that's what they normally do. And it is what you should be doing against weak players. You should be fighting hard with them. But 1 or 2 of them went broke, right? In a spot where if they just all sat there and behaved, they would all get a redraw at a way more profitable table. And deep in a tournament, like your expectation per hour may be something like $1,000 or $2,000 an hour at a soft table, maybe more. And your expectation at a tough table is $0 an hour, right? So would you rather win $0 an hour, or would you rather win $2,000? Obviously, you'd rather win $2,000, and you get $2,000 for free if you just sit there and fold for an hour. So you sit there, you play good hands, you roughly break even, you move on with your life. Now, of course, you may run into a setup spot where you get, whatever, imagine any setup spot, and you're going to lose. But you shouldn't be making gigantic hero calls or running big bluffs or anything like that. Just sit there and get a different table. So that is very, very, very important. And if you know your soft table is going to break soon, often you should be playing whatever you think the most profitable strategy is in a soft game. But you may want to push it even a little bit more. Like, say you know someone makes a lot of post-flop errors, and you know the table's going to break in like an hour, you probably want to be seeing as many flops in position as you can with reasonable hands. So be aware of that. Thoughts on late entry into a tournament? It's fine, not ideal. You'd rather buy in on time, assuming you care about winning the tournament. I've discussed this a million times. If you have other things going on in life, there's nothing wrong with buying in late, besides you're giving up money. So you're giving up money in exchange for doing other things. If you're bad, you should definitely buy in late. You should buy in last second. No one who's bad does this. They all buy in early because they really want to play poker, right? But if you think you're really bad, you want to buy in with the shallowest stacks possible, because that basically turns it into a turbo tournament. And when it's a turbo, everyone's skill advantages get closer to 0. And then you just lose the rake that way, right? Imagine you could go from being a minus 50% ROI player if you bought it on time to minus 12% ROI player if you buy in late. Clearly that's a good strategy. That said, no one does it. Good players should definitely not buy in late. You heard it's easier to cash when you late register. It should be a little bit easier to cash. Where's James? I don't know. Do you foresee a future where everyone is good at poker? No. It's hard to get good at poker. What do you think about a continuation betting, or continuation betting a high frequency in small stakes games or 2-5 games? Oh, betting for a small amount. I mean, listen, I have a video when to continuation bet and how much. I think it's probably fine depending on the scenarios, but if you raise and you get 7 callers, obviously you don't want to be continuation betting a high frequency. What about shorthanded early in a tournament? That is great. Seems more tough than shorthanded in cash games. I disagree. I love playing early in tournaments against weak players. Also, in a lot of tournaments, they put out a few dead stacks, so you're just collecting free blinds. It's amazing. Every year at the World Series of Poker, at the PLO tournament, they always start off very shorthanded for whatever reason, and there are a few dead stacks, and I don't think I've ever not profited in the first level of a PLO tournament. It's insane. Like, I sit there and nobody's good. They're used to playing nitty strategies. I just raise, continuation bet a lot, betting it on the turn a lot. If they raise me, I fold. Pan asked a terrible question. What do you do with ace-king after someone 3-bets your raise and you're out of position? What are our stacks? What's our opponent's image? What's our range? Right? You have a hard time adjusting to 1-2 live from online because of the multi-way dynamics. Well, the games are different, right? Whenever you're playing multi-way, you need to be way more inclined to play straightforward. When you're playing against a lot of players, someone's going to have something on a lot of flops. If it's not you, it's someone else. So you need to be a lot tighter. You feel like top pair, top kicker turns into a bluff catcher. It does. You say it's obnoxious to play multi-way. I completely disagree with that. You just have to learn to play multi-way. You probably have no experience at it, Jesse. You should be happy to have people in there with 9-4 offsuited, 9-6 suited, and King 4 suited. When you have ace-king, you're just going to print money if you play well. Quite often, this is classic Bart Hansen technique, is you bet for value until they raise you. When they raise you, you just fold. That's how you play against a lot of people. Gustav says, multi-way prints money. It does. All right. I will say online, you often win because your opponents fold too much, and live, you win because your opponents call too much. So, if you have your red line and your blue line, right, online, if you look at your Hold'em Manager graphs, your red line is your non-showdown winnings. Online, usually that's going to be the line that goes up for everyone. And your showdown winnings can be break even or maybe even losing. Live, though, your showdown winnings should be like through the roof, and your non-showdown winning should be break even or losing. If you had to look at that. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Let's see. How do you know you're ready to move up? What is your win rate at your current stake? If you're winning at your current stake, feel free to move up and give it a try. Against a player who calls 3-bets a lot, should you 3-bet with a linear range or a polarized range? Linear. If your opponent's a calling station, that's when you want to 3-bet with the best, just the best hands. And you can even 3-bet stuff like ace-10 offsuit for value, because they're going to call with ace-4. Run it once, twice, or 3 times. One time, because I don't go on tilt. If you're not going to go on tilt and you're properly bankrolled, one time. If you know your opponents are also properly bankrolled and will not go on tilt, maybe then you chop it up. But if your opponents are not as good as you, or prone to go on tilt, or not playing properly bankrolled, etc., one time. You're going to find a lot of people will be a little bit more willing to call you. In general, when you're playing high stakes, you don't really care if they fold because you have lots of bluffs in your range. So if you have lots of bluffs in your range, you want them to fold. And if they're going to be more inclined to call because you are running it multiple times, that's not good for you, right? If you do think that's going to change their strategy, and you know you want to run it 3 times, let's say, then you're going to want to use a more value-heavy range. But playing more value-heavy range doesn't allow you to bluff as much, which is a big problem. You want to be able to play as wide of a range as you possibly can profitably, and playing a more value-heavy range essentially takes the bluffs out of your range, which lets you play fewer hands, and that's not ideal. How do you feel about 3-betting big suited broadways from the small blind or big blind? I would definitely 3-bet the offsuit ones first. You want to be 3-betting hands that don't mind fold equity, and king-queen suited doesn't mind seeing a flop. I want to thank me for the Live Poker 101 question and answer sessions with Alex Fitzgerald. Will there be more opportunities like that in the future? You love his style. Probably. Stay tuned. You're around, Mark. You know. Louis Philippe says, your 2-5 games allow 200 big blind starting stacks and your roll can't take the swings. It's mostly what is holding you back in these games. Louis Philippe, you don't have to buy in for 200 big blinds. Buy in for 100. Buy in for 50. Right? Just because there is a maximum doesn't mean that you have to buy in for that amount. What if it was uncapped? No one has an infinite bankroll. Right? Don't feel like you have to buy in for the maximum. Or that that's even a required thing. I mean, at Bellagio, at 1020, there was no maximum. And very often I would sit down with 2,000, 100 big blinds. Sometimes with 1,000. And then you sit and you see what develops. And, 80% of the time I end up adding on more. The way Bellagio is situated, or I don't know how it is now, but the way it was situated is you couldn't really watch the 1020 games. They were up in a separate area in the back and there wasn't no rail to stand on. So you couldn't really see which seat you were going to get whenever you showed up. So I would have 1,000 in $20 chips. They had $20 chips there. It's kind of weird, but that's what they did. I'd have 1,000 $20 chips, then 4,000 in hundreds, and then $1,000 chips as well. I'd have a bunch of the hundreds and the big ones just in the tray, and I'd show up, and I would just take them off if I thought the game was no good once I looked around for just a split second. So you don't have to buy in for the maximum. You still play the PokerStars home game. I have not in quite a while, but it still runs. Turns out life is hectic, and that was something that did not provide as much value as I hoped. It's important to make sure you try lots and lots of things, but at the same time, you have to be very good at quitting in life. If you don't quit everything you start, well, you're going to become quickly overwhelmed, right? Maybe we need to talk about quitting. Maybe you need to quit poker. Maybe you need to quit playing cash games. Maybe you need to quit playing tournaments. Maybe you need to quit playing a specific game, right? Maybe you need to quit watching A Little Coffee. Who knows? Hopefully not. Maybe you do. Maybe I need to quit doing A Little Coffee. I don't think so. I think this is beneficial. But quitting is very important. And not necessarily quitting, but prioritizing. And once you prioritize, you will see the things at the bottom of the list. And the things at the bottom of the list, they got to go. Leaving for the Parks big stack. Have fun. Zach says he likes running it 3 times because you always have a winner and you don't like chopping. Well, all of that is irrelevant. Show the bluff early, late, or never in a tournament. I don't show bluffs. Quick question. You want to buy a 3-year package on my website. Is it legal accepted to share your account? I prefer you don't. But hey, Do what you want. All right, let's see. You may need to quit folding the best hand on the river. Yeah, don't do that. Little coffee sounds like top of the list for sure. You think it's beneficial for me? For you. Yes, it's beneficial for you all for sure. Is it beneficial for me? I don't know. Is it ever going to get a limp on the button? Absolutely, Connor. Limping the button is very good in a few specific scenarios. If there are limpers in front of you, then obviously limping the button's fine. If everyone folds to you on the button, you want to be limping when you have a 15 to 20, maybe a 12 to 25 big blind stack. Definitely want to be limping there. Min-raising's fine and maybe ideal, but if your opponents play perfectly, you want to be limping the button, because then if you limp, they can raise and you can call with all sorts of stuff in position, you're going to crush them. If you raise, they can jam, and then you can't call very often. So limping is quite nice there. Limping's also quite nice on the button if the players in the blinds are just generally very aggressive. Because again, you can limp, they can raise, you can then call. So there is merit to that. I limp the button maybe, I don't know, 5% of the time across the board, 10% of the time. Not a lot, but there are corner cases for it. This is hot coffee. It's currently room temperature coffee, so that's a bummer. Y'all may not know this. This is actually my second cup of coffee every morning. First thing I do, I wake up, I deal with Mr. James, I start the coffee, I have the coffee, and then I usually have about half of the coffee. And then I add a little bit of water to the coffee. So this is not actual real coffee. This is like a stage show, you know? Whenever you see them drinking wine on TV shows, it's not real wine. I went to a show in New York City, Sleep No More, where you can sort of run around and have fun and play with the props. And they had a can-served whiskey. I'm like, ooh, whiskey. I decided to drink the whiskey. And it turned out it was water. At least it tasted like water. I was very disappointed. So if you want whiskey, you have to bring your own. All right, late stage in the tournaments. And the money. You have an average stack of 30 big blinds. Middle position with ace-king, you make a raise. Loose aggressive player, you're at 3-bet. You go all in. Easy all in. How is poker in 5-year streak? Not sure what you're asking. Is there going to be a new boom in poker? No, probably not. 2 cuppy lightweights, I drink a pot. You know, it's been proven that you don't actually absorb any more caffeine after something like 16 ounces or something like that. 16 ounces of caffeine or of coffee is all the caffeine your body can handle. Anything above that, you just pee out. So look into that. It may not do you much good. Mark says he can say the free content like this is why you decided to sign up to pokercoaching.com. Well, good. Vic says you just quit coffee. You miss it, but you don't like the caffeine. Drink decaf. Drink tea. Drink hot water. Last night, used a limping strategy from late position with about 85% of hands and crushed them. Okay. Michael, though, you do not want to limp from the cutoff. Because when you limp the cutoff, that lets the button limp, and then you're out of position. Limping is only good specifically from the... limping is only specifically good from the button because you're going to be in position throughout the hand. When do you know if you play late in the tight in the late stage? I don't know what you're saying here. You always seem to bust in the top 10 to 25. Yeah, you're probably playing too tight. Is this a measuring cup? No, I don't know what the deal with this is. It looks like a measuring cup, but it's not. You had a 3K budget and you lost it all in the last month. What do you do now? Well, if you had a 3K budget, you messed up because you presumably were playing a game and then you kept playing a game that was way too big. You should essentially never go broke in poker, by the way, because say you're playing 1-2 with a 3K bankroll. If you get down to like 2K, you should move down to 50-cent dollar. If you get down to 1K, you should move down to 25 cent, 50 cent. You get down to 500, you move down to 5 cent, 10 cent, right? Or whatever, then whatever next lowest, 10.25. So you messed up, and that's a problem. So hopefully you've learned a lesson, because that's not good. You should essentially never go broke. I've never gone broke. My friends have never gone broke, because we were all very, very disciplined. Ed Miller thinks sports betting will boom. I don't know if sports betting is ever going to boom. The problem is, in America, the regulation has made it to where the VIG is so incredibly high. With such a high VIG, that's not good. Nobody can win. If nobody can win, then how's it really going to boom? What site do I typically play on? Party Poker and PokerStars. In a 2-5 game, opening 25, you get 4 to 5 callers. What adjustments should you make? Just play good, strong hands. Don't raise garbage. Don't raise ace-9 offsuit ever, right? Raise stuff like 9-8 suited and king-10 suited. Hands that do very well multi-way. Small blind limping works too. Yeah, I ignored that. I should have mentioned that. Small blind, if they fold you in the small blind, you should be limping a lot. It's often a very, very good strategy. The inner circle has done wonders for your game. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Is that a great white shark on the bookshelf? It's a baby shark. Let's see. If you limp under the gun with aces occasionally, it's okay to limp with other stuff. Just stop. Don't limp those hands. Raise all of them. I hope any sort of skill-based gambling booms, because a lot of those players move to poker. It's well known online. If your site has a good sports book that doesn't have a big vig, if your poker site has a sports book, the poker games are really, really soft, especially after major sporting events, because they get all the people win at sports betting and then they go do something else. They can't bet on anything else because the day's over. So what do? They go and they play poker. So if you tell me that sports betting is going to boom, we are happy about that. That said, I was talking to Ed Miller a while ago, looking for things to do. I'm always looking for things to do. And I said, should I get into sports betting? Or daily fantasy sports? I asked him about one of the two. I played daily fantasy sports for 3 years. First year I won a bunch. Second year I won medium. Third year I won a tiny bit. And then realized the game was tough. Game has been solved already. And I'm certainly not a genius. So Ed basically told me, he says, are you really good at math? I'm like, no. Are you really good at computer programming? No. I said, okay, then it's not for you. I'm pretty good at math. Not a genius at math. Don't know anything about computer programming. Not for me. How do you spot a bad player? You pay attention. Look for things they do that is obviously wrong. You make 5 to 6 figures annually from sports betting. Good job. Teach me. All right. How often do you find yourself... How often do you find you have to watch a dealer closely because they're inattentive? That happens for me subconsciously. Like if something's wrong, I just see it. I don't know what to tell you. I see everything like this. Very often if the dealer is bad, I am happy to help them, happy to be useful. Do not do things, by the way, like say, don't make change for the dealer. Say there's a 25 ante, right? If there's 3 people to your right who put in 25 and you put in 100, do not put in 100 and take those 75. The 25, 25, 25, because that's going to confuse the dealer. Don't put your ante on the dealer button. That confuses the dealer. Don't put your ante on top of your big blind or underneath your big blind. That confuses the dealer, right? You want to do things that make the dealer's life easy. Put your chips actually in the pot. Don't make the dealer have to stretch and ask you for help. All that stuff is it's just stupid, right? And it's not like people do these things on purpose. I don't think they're just ignorant to the fact that this is detrimental. So you don't want to do things like that. You want to do things that are helpful. How many big blinds should you have to play 1, 3, and 2, 5? Read jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. I have the bankroll Bible there just for you. How do you know when someone flops a set? You don't. You don't know what your opponent has. They have a range, right? Bart Hansen strategy, though, if they are generally tight and straightforward, then when they raise you, they have a set. Thoughts on heads up? Heads up is great. You can't go to 50-cent tables because you only have 1, 2 tables where you play. Oh, that's the problem. You're not playing online. You're not using all of your resources. Online poker is available to pretty much everyone in the world at this point. Not the major sites, but there are other sites. And fortunately, you're playing for such small stakes where if you do get scammed by one of the shady sites, it's not the end of the world. What's your opinion on tipping the dealer? Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. I feel like that's the answer to everything. Maybe I should take this and make a book out of it. I should probably make a physical book. Oh, one more project. I just finished a project. I was rewriting something. It was 250 pages. I finished it yesterday. That was so exciting. It took me felt forever for me. It took me 2 weeks. Now I have 250 more pages to go, so it'll take me 2 more weeks. Then we'll be done with that and on to something different. Excelling at online no limit hold'em. That's the next project for me. That's going to be an exciting one because I'm going to learn a lot. I like doing projects where I learn a lot. Let's see. We said once you need to bet with your flush draws or call a bet with your flush draws on the flop. Should we call a bet or bet with straight draws? Amir, go to pokercoaching.com. That will give you all of the answers. What are my thoughts on heads-up sit-and-goes? Heads-up sit-and-goes are great, assuming you have a win rate. Talk about table selection. Table selection is really important in heads-up sit-and-goes. Quite often you get to see who the player who's sitting is, and if that's a bad player, you play. If it's a good player, you don't play. Think of all the fish who play daily fantasy against the math wizards and computer programmers. Yes. I learned, whenever I was daily fantasy sports betting, I was playing the heads-up games only, and I was using a very simple system. I found projected points for each player each week on a site that seemed to be pretty accurate. So I would take that, I'd figure out the number of points each player was expected to get, I would divide it by the cost of each player, and you'd come out, it would give you a spreadsheet of all the players based on value, right? I'm not trying to play the multi-way games, because in those you have to shoot for the moon, and you have to be analyzing who other people pick. I wasn't really worried about that. I was just trying to maximize points on each player. So, say one quarterback's worth, say one's just a better value than the other, I take the one that's the best value. And then move on. I try to maximize the total points of the whole team. But that was in heads-up games. Heads-up games are dead. Pretty much dead. Also, daily fantasy sports have a big problem in that they let you play the same roster across all stakes. So if you're just the best player, you can literally play every game. Because there's no time requirement to play every other game. You just click the button, submit the same roster, and then you're done. It's not a good setup, because the good player is just going to win all the money. Should you keep playing micro stakes or move up if you're crushing it? You should probably move up. I sound like a value trader. Oh, I love some value. Whenever I play Magic the Gathering, my favorite cards are the ones that produce immediate value, or some unforeseen value, but value. I love value. I'm not going for the quick win. I'm trying to get all the money long term. In regards to our bubble conversation, you bought the video on it on pokercoaching.com yesterday. Great, I hope it's helpful. When a new player comes to the game and are obviously a professional chip shuffler, you think, you better pay attention to this guy. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think it's that big of a deal. So a lot of people know how to shuffle chips at this point because a lot of people have played more than 10 hours of poker and they get bored. World Series has the best and the worst dealers. Yes. Suggestions for dealing with bad dealers. Like I said, just be helpful. Be useful. If the dealers screw up, it's okay. They're going to screw up. In the Bahamas, I'll tell you, recently I was there and they were training some local dealers who had never dealt poker in their lives, and inevitably they're going to be bad, right? If someone's never played or dealt poker, they're not going to be a good poker dealer. So instead of getting annoyed and frustrated, you just have to be helpful. What is annoying is if you're trying to help someone who is just clearly, someone who clearly doesn't care, and they're trying to blame their mistakes on other people and whatnot. That's annoying to me. But if someone's trying their best, you should not get mad at anyone who's trying their best. How do you act when an aggressive player and the bigger stack keeps 3-betting all your bets? You can't steal any blinds. What do you do? Did you listen to our webinar or our presentation the other day about how to play against maniacs? Just play good cards. Do I think online gambling will be legal in the US soon? No, probably the opposite. They're trying to make it illegal. They are actively trying to make gambling games illegal in America at the moment, not make them legal. Follow the laws. The laws are important. They're trying to pass another bill. Maybe they did already. I don't know. That's essentially they have the Illegal Wire Act, where you can't bet across state lines. And they're trying to apply, that's what stops sports betting from happening in America right now. You can bet within the states, but you can't bet across state lines, which is fine for sports betting. It doesn't make a difference, but it kills poker because in poker, you need a big player pool, right? If you need a big player pool, then you clearly need to play with lots and lots of players, right? And if you're playing only within a state, you don't get to play with very many players. Currently, the states in America share liquidity with the other states, so the sites are getting kind of big to where you actually can play with a decent number of players for decent stakes. But they're trying to attach all gambling games to the Illegal Sports Betting Wire Act, or whatever it's called. So, if that passes, all the online poker in America is going to be set back significantly. It's probably going to happen. Home of the free, exactly what Vic says. You don't know how people play at the Venetian. Yeah, the Venetian is a big proponent of banning online betting, and that's not cool. You should not support places that don't support poker, in my opinion. All right. About several of my videos, you have gotten a great return on investment. Good. That's what we're going for. Sports betting is currently legal in the United States, but it's not legal in a lot of states. And also, you still can't bet over state lines. Which is a problem again, right? If you go to a lot of these states where it is legal, where it's specifically legal in various states, besides Vegas, the lines are crappy. Even in Vegas, the lines are crappy. No one wants to gamble. No one wants to take action either. If you go try to make a $10,000 bet anywhere, you're not going to get to make that bet unless you are a known fish. And if they do let you make the bet, they're going to make you bet $2,000 5 times. They're going to move the line on you every time. So unless you're a stone fish, it's not going to fly. So be aware of all this. Don't get in trouble. I mean, go look what's happened to Cantor Gaming recently for all the essentially illegal betting over state lines, where they have an office in New Jersey and they're running books in Nevada and they're having people make bets and hedge the bets and all this. Whatever. We're not getting into this. This is a stream about poker. This is not a stream about things that I'm not even a complete professional on. I mean, I know a decent amount about all gambling games. It's important if you're in any industry to know the tangential industries. Is that a thing? So I know about all gambling games, but certainly not a pro. I'm not a winning sports bettor. I'm not good at math. All right, let's see. In middle position, your ace at 2.2, get 3-bet 3x on the button. Oh wait, somebody else four bets. You jam ace king. Is that a fine play? I don't know. If you're after the bubble, you're in the money. It's probably fine just to get it in. I would have gotten it in. I don't fold ace king. Very rarely should you be folding ace king. There are times for it. Like say you raise under the gun with ace king and then someone 3-bets and 4-bets, yeah, you should probably fold. If you raise like middle position and you're against later position players, it's probably fine just to get it in. If you know the 4-better's a super duper nit, then I guess you can fold. Is it possible making a living being an online tournament player? Absolutely. Absolutely. All you have to do is find a game you can beat and play it for relatively high stakes. If you're not beating online tournaments, especially in small and medium stakes, you're probably not very good, or you're playing way too many knockout tournaments or turbo tournaments. Those are both particularly bad. So you may be playing satellites too. Satellites are particularly bad as well. Those all have very low return on investments for good players for various reasons. Satellites because if you win, you don't get any more than the guy who gets them in cash, and you should be winning more often, right? Next, bounty tournaments pay out a lot of the field, which makes the payout structure very, very flat. Unless it's a progressive knockout tournament, then it's top-heavy, and that's probably fine. And turbos, you just have a low RI across the board, so maybe you're playing too much of all of that. Limping in a 6-handed pot with ace-2 suited on the button. Yeah, great. How do you keep your skills sharp when not playing? Study a lot. Go to pokercoaching.com. We have lots and lots of quizzes, over 400 of them at the moment, and we add more new ones every day. Not every day. Every week we add new ones. I think we add 4 new quizzes a week. So go to pokercoaching.com, and it's like you're playing. You're sitting there at the table, you make a decision, and then I give you my feedback, or Alex Fitzgerald or Matt Affleck gives you their feedback. And that's a great way to stay sharp. And I mean, I go through all the quizzes of the other players, and I learn things, and it's good. It's a good way to learn. Also, we have the homework challenges there, where you get to learn a lot. I mean, the one we just presented the other day was, you can find it on youtube.com/floattheturn. It's the first video, discussing how to play against maniacs. If you go through all the homework challenges there, you're going to be really, really good. And you're going to know how to play against essentially all situations. Currently, we have a sale going on for pokercoaching.com. You can go to pokercoaching.com/New Year. You'll get lots and lots of bonus videos, a huge discount, and seems like a lot of people here think it's a good investment, and I think it is too. If I was a young poker player, I would definitely sign up. I tried to make the site that I would want when I was learning poker. Because I know that I watched a lot of training videos, and training videos are not interactive. They're not fun, right? They are just like you kind of sit there and you passively learn. Passively learning is not how you get good quickly. You get good quickly by actively learning, by having a coach who essentially tells you the right play in every scenario, and you'll learn very quickly that way. And that's what I tried to make for all of you. So check it out at pokercoaching.com. Will help beginners, absolutely. Oh, let's see. Brian, you're about a year behind on your law talk. Look what's currently happening. You're playing only good cards. Well, that's probably a mistake. Yeah, if you play good cards and you're always getting 3-bet and 4-bet, that's fine. If you want to be a better player, buy the 3-year membership for $2.99. There you go, Kevin. I agree. What's the best way to follow me? Twitter at what's my name on Twitter? At Jonathan Little. And on my email list. If you're not on my email list, you're really missing out because we send out lots and lots of free articles, free videos, free training content, like my cheat sheets. We'll be sending out pre-flop ranges at some point in the near future. Also, we send out lots of bonuses and discounts, so you need to be on my email list. You can easily get on it by getting your free trial at pokercoaching.com. If you sign up for that, it's completely free, no credit card required. You'll be put on the email list, and then we'll email you, and you'll stay up to date. All right, that's going to be it for today. Seat selection, done. We did it. Is this a book yet? We're almost at a book. How many do you think this is? 100? Once we get to like 150 of these, I'm probably going to write an article about all of these topics. To be fair, I probably have already written an article about all these topics. Like seat selection, it's straight from my book, Jonathan Little on Live No Limit Cash Games. Where is that? Where is that? Here it is. Jonathan Little on Live No Limit Cash Games. Is this in Volume 1? Yeah, it is in Volume 1. Seat selection is in Volume 1. Ooh, here we go. Someone asked about tips. Yeah, we're talking about tipping already. Here's bankroll. Anyway, this talk, it's pretty much straight from this. So I don't really need to rewrite that one. Good. Once we get up to about 150, though, we're going to figure out a book. What's going to be the title for the little coffee book? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Oh, goodness. There's so many projects on my plate. I don't have time for everything. But that's okay. I don't mind. Let's see. You do everything right, the cards don't come your way. Stop blaming luck. If you blame luck, you are a fish. Definitively a fish. Sorry, it's probably true. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. Read all the materials we have. And if you do go to the bankroll sites, you're going to see you need to put in volume. Volume cures variance. If you play a lot and you're a losing player, well, you're a losing player. You're definitively a losing player. There's no guessing. You can't blame bad luck if you play a million hands and you're a losing player. Right? Whenever people complain about bad luck, they've often played 6,500 hands, right? And they think I played 6,500 hands, that's so much. It's like, no, that's one day of professional poker play. So, sorry, but it's true. All right, let's see. Yeah, that's it for today. Louis Philippe says, thanks for the time. Well, good. Thank you for being here, Louis Philippe. I hope it's a great day for you. Have a great day, everyone. I hope everyone does have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun. I think it's Friday. That means tomorrow and the next day I get to babysit Mr. James. Oh, it's fun with Mr. James. We go to the museums. We try to go to the park if it's not freezing. It's been freezing the last few times. James is sick, though. He has a little bit of a cough. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow. Maybe I'll post about it on Instagram. If I do anything fun, I'll post about it in my Instagram story. Instagram at JCardShark. If you like this, by the way, click like, subscribe, share, whatever buttons there are. Click the buttons. I know how much poker players love clicking buttons. Click the buttons. Help me out. A few weeks ago, we only had 8 viewers here for a little coffee. I think now we're up to about 8,000, so that's good. Next stop is 80,000, I guess. Might as well get there. Might as well help out as many people as we can. All right, have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Good luck in your games. Be nice to someone. Give someone a hand.